You're listening to episode 276 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. So on today's podcast, I'm joined by Lawrence Gill, who is the Executive Director of KBIS Insurance. Our paths have crossed lots of times over the years, haven't they, Lawrence?
Yeah, I think we met at a conference, didn't we, about 5 years ago?
Oh, God, yes, I remember that conference very, very well, actually. We won't talk
Yes.
about some of the things. Yes.
Yes, I think we were on a panel together or something at a conference, and
We were,
that
with
was
a
where our paths crossed.
yes, with a really terrifying force of nature lady.
Absolutely right. Yes. Yeah, I haven't forgotten that one.
No, that lives in my head rent free. That does. But anyway, Lawrence, tell us all about you and how you kind of got into the role that you are now.
Oh, well, thanks, mate. I mean, it's a long story, but I'll try and give the short version, I suppose. I grew up in Herefordshire, with very lucky to have ponies, doing part of the Malvern Pony Club, and so doing pony club and a bit of hunting. And so I was always quite keen. Uh, Off I then went when I left school to the Royal Agricultural College, after a season grooming in New Zealand, and decided after leaving university that I wanted to be a racehorse trainer. So I spent a few years working in racing, and a season as an event groom, and I was doing a bit of freelancing as well, and then realised that for me, I was never going to get to be the racehorse trainer, and actually it was taking over my life, and I didn't have the funding, the backing, or the really, I probably wasn't as passionate about it as I needed to be. I love racing, I love horses, but just didn't love it enough to give over your entire life, because it really is giving your life, isn't it? And but I better think about something else. And I met Guy Prest, who was the managing director and owner of KBIS at the time, and he had been in the army with my stepfather, and so I got introduced, and they very kindly offered me a month's work experience. So I went and did a month's work experience at KBIS in January 2012. Did my month, had a lovely time, found it really interesting, and I was surprised how interesting I found it, actually, because insurance is always deemed quite a dry subject, isn't it? But I think when it's something you're passionate about, like, then it makes it a bit more interesting. There was no role at the time, so I went back to freelancing, and got a phone call one day saying somebody left. Don't suppose you'd like to apply for the job? So I did, and so I started as a policy administrator in the horse team. Did 6 months there, moved into the commercial team, doing commercial liability insurance for equine businesses. 3.5 years I spent there before I moved to London. I did a couple of years working in equestrian bloodstock insurance for a London broker, where I learned an awful lot more. Had a really good time. So yeah, we did 2 years there, and then I was kindly offered a job back at KBIS, more of a management role, and that was January 2018, shortly before you and I met at that conference. And that role grew there, really, I suppose. And I did some operations. I was involved, as in I was involved with the operational side of the business.
Didn't literally cut people
open. I wasn't allowed to do any operations.
Wasn't allowed. Oh gosh, I didn't think you actually did operations in the insurance world.
When it comes to claims, the vets do the vet bit. We just do the payments. We're not involved with that bit. So I was involved with the operational side of the business a bit, and some of the compliance, and then when the business was sold 3 years ago to Specialist Risk Group, Guy stayed involved as managing director until last December, when he retired, and I took on the mantle of executive director of the business. So that was my journey, I guess, all the way through.
It's really exciting. And it's really good. I really like hearing about people's careers, because it's never like as linear as we think. You know, you don't necessarily want to do the thing that you do now forever and ever, but as you learn more stuff, it kind of evolves, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. And I think, I've always said, and everyone I've spoken to has said, that nobody ever grows up saying, I want to work in insurance. Nobody that I've come across. Maybe there are people, but there are very few people that kind of go to their school careers person at the age of 14 and say I want to be an insurance broker, but it's something that we all fall into. And for me, I've fallen into it because of my passion for horses, and it gives me that great balance. But and as you say, there's no linear progression, and I certainly would never have thought that I would be where I am today when I first started doing my work experience, nearly 12 years ago. I just think in life we all have to just take every opportunity that comes of it. That's how I've ended up here.
No, completely. I mean, gosh, don't immediately started on career people at school, career advisors. Because I said I liked animals, they said I should be a gamekeeper.
Oh
Now,
wow!
I'm terrified of birds. Can't deal with them at all. Pheasants are all right, but no, no. And, I kind of felt like perhaps that wasn't the route I was planning on going down when I said, oh, I really love horses. And I went, oh, gamekeeper. Okay. So
Quite a stretch from horses to pheasants as well, isn't it?
I
It's
think
not
perhaps it showed the lack of understanding of some of the people that crossed my path at that time.
I think you might be right.
So insurance, it isn't the most exciting subject. When you hear it, it's like a kind of necessary evil, isn't it? If you've got a house, you've got to have house insurance, contents insurance, car insurance. What other bits of me are insured? Life insurance, dog insurance, horse insurance. It's all about risk though, isn't it, insurance? So can you kind of explain a bit about how it works? Because again, we've had premiums going up, all sorts of things. So how does insurance kind of at its core, regardless of whether it's horse, building, business, whatever, work?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the basic concept is that the insurer is taking the risk away from you. So if you're looking at your house insurance, if you own a house and you own a house, you insure it, that protects you in the event that the house burns down, as an example. Worst case scenario, the house burns down, there will be a cost to repair, to rebuild it, or to at least clear the site. And the idea is that the insurance, put very simply, the insurance there is there to protect you and take the risk away from you having to pay that cost to rebuild the house or to clear the site, and they will effectively refund you. The basic concept of insurance is that we, as the insurance company, or the insurer, should refund you for your losses. So in theory, you as the insured would pay out the cost and then we would pay you back. Now that in practice obviously doesn't work, because if you've got a house that's £200,000 and it's burnt down, you don't have the money to pay it back. So what happens is the insurer generally pays directly to the any service provider, be a builder, or plumber, or whoever it might be. And in the case of horse insurance, we tend to pay the vets directly, because otherwise they need paying, and we don't. A lot of us horse owners don't have a huge amount of money sitting around, because probably spent
Horses.
it on horses, feed, on a new saddle, on a new numbler, or whatever it might be. So we that's the concept, very simply.
And is it all about risk? Because obviously, when you insure a house, she says, trying to think how much her house insurance is, it's not a huge amount of money, but I guess that's because, touch wood, she looks around the room, think that's wood, you would hope the chances of your house burning down are slim. But if you then look at dog insurance, my dog insurance is much, much more than my house insurance, because the chances of my dog doing something stupid are very, very high. Is that kind of how it works?
That's a really simple way of putting it, but yes, that's very, very much how it works. So it's very much about the risk, and most insurers have a team of actuaries, and the actuaries are people who sit in the back and look at all the figures and do very complicated maths, which is way beyond my ability. But looking at the statistics around, houses burning down or dogs getting injured, and we are quite involved with it at KBIS, because we have claims authority, so we pay the claims ourselves. So we have a lot more oversight of kind of what's coming in and what's going out effectively. And there are lots and lots of very complicated algorithms and things like that. But again, put very simply, this is how much is going out. in general, and this is how much needs to come in to fill the pool. So the idea of insurance is that it's a pool, and that the premiums of the masses pay the claims of the few.
And is that why insurance goes up? Your premium generally goes up year on year. Why is that? Because people can get quite cross about that, and I can understand sometimes, not necessarily in your case, but car insurance is a brilliant example. You get your renewal through, and it is significantly more, even if you haven't claimed, you haven't done anything to your car. It's shoots up, and I know you're not the same as car insurance because they're a whole different animal. But why does it go up every year?
Yeah, that's not as straightforward a question as as you might think. There are multiple contributing factors. Inflation is always a factor. There, we have to put premiums up in line with inflation. If an underwriter or an insurer has had a particularly bad year in respect of claims, then yes, the premiums will have to go up in order to refill the pool, which has been emptied effectively. Cost of inflation affects cost of repairs. The cost to repair a car is going up, then the cost of the claim goes up, and the cost of the premium needs to go up. So sometimes, when it comes to house insurance, some insurers apply what they call index linking, which means that as the value of then it tends to be in line with inflation. So the value of your house increases every year. To save you having to get your house revalued every year, they apply a certain percentage each year, which is actually an increase in the sum insured, so the amount that you insure your house for. But of course, then the premium goes up as well. So it really, there are multiple contributory factors. And then if somebody has had a few claims, then their premium might go up a bit more than others, and for obvious reasons, really.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And obviously, you do commercial insurance as well. You do insurance for businesses. It's quite difficult, I think, from a business point of view. I've got different business insurance because it's not like a tangible thing. You're not, if it's like public liability, or if these kind of things that it's not like your dog's ill or your house is broken. Do you find it's more difficult to kind of explain why these things you can't see or touch are important to be insured as well?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Again, it's a yeah, I mean, if you're insuring your horse, you're insuring your house, it's something that you've invested in, it's something you're really passionate about, right? So, and there's a concept of cost. When it comes to public liability or employer's liability, you're protecting yourself against effectively somebody suing you or somebody holding liable for uh, injury or damage to property arising out of the running of your business. It's a difficult one because it's very hard. There's so many variations on what could cause an accident, and for those of us who aren't necessarily from an insurance background or don't work in insurance, it's quite hard to look at and go, well, that it's very easy for people to look at it and go, well, that'll never happen to me.
Hmm.
And we see that quite a lot. And I then see the claims come in, and it's amazing how we're seeing claims coming in for kind of £4 million, for injury to people and things. And there's some big claims happening, and it could be anything from a horse escaping from the field, or somebody coming into the yard and tripping over a lead rope that's been left out. It could be somebody falling off in a riding lesson. There's so many various bits, particularly on the equine side, where you've got live animals. It's very hard to kind of have control over reducing the risk, I suppose, because however much we trust our horses, they are live animals and they can react in their own way, I suppose. So you don't know quite, you can never be really sure about what might happen.
No, completely, completely. I think it can also be quite overwhelming to work out what you need as a business because there's lots of different kind of terminology. I know it's the correct terminology, like public liability, like this, that, and the other, but you kind of think, well, what does that actually mean? It's almost, I want to say jargon, but it's not jargon. But when you're trying to look at, well, does this relate to me? It can be quite difficult to work it out, can't it?
Yes, it is, absolutely. And I mean, public liability is kind of the minimum, that I would say that's really important. There are multiple reasons for that, but public liability protects your liability to the public. So what it's saying is every person, whether they're, all of us, whether we're running a business or whether we're just individuals, if we have any form of exposure to third parties or the public, which we do, whether we're walking down the road or when we're driving a car, or when we're running an equine business or a big insurance company, we've all got a liability to the public, and we have a duty of care to ensure that we do everything we can to prevent members of the public or their property getting injured or damaged as a result of our actions. And so that's effectively what public liability does. It gets a little bit more complicated when horses are involved or animals are involved, actually, because there is a piece of legislation called the Animals Act 1971, and that applies strict liability to most animal owners, and that basically means that there doesn't have to be necessarily any negligence on behalf of the owner or keeper of that animal. So it could be that, as an example, a horse might jump out of the field. Well, if that fence has been maintained perfectly, you've done all the right risk assessments. Sometimes these things happen, and the horse, again, as I said earlier, we can't control the actions of a horse, dog, or any animal. If that horse jumps out and causes an accident on the motorway or the main road, and somebody gets injured, then somebody has to kind of take responsibility for that, and that's where the Animals Act steps in. Now, there are certain, just to caveat that, there are certain requirements that have to be met in order for an Animals Act claim to be upheld.
No, I think it's a good point. So we kind of don't necessarily know the dangers. That's why we are insuring against it. And even if we've done everything right, random stuff can still happen, and we could still be liable even if we didn't necessarily do anything wrong.
Correct. And sometimes, it's negligence. So, you might have not done something wrong, but you might have, I don't know, failed to do something right almost.
Yeah.
It's very easy for us to, make decisions in the spur of the moment, which isn't necessarily wrong. It might be things that we do all the time, but sometimes it just doesn't work out the way we normally have. And so it's not necessarily right or wrong in that sense. It's being a bit of a, I don't know, it's not necessarily right or wrong, I suppose. It's just,
but things happen, don't they? These things do happen,
you couldn't prepare for. You could lead the same horse out to the same field every single day, and it'd be absolutely fine. And then one day, a bird could fly over and spook it, or a plane or something that you weren't expecting, or and suddenly all hell can break loose. And
yeah,
it does happen. We've got a yard of horses here, and my partner runs a livery yard, so we've got a yard of horses here, and we do everything by the book as much as we can. But still, my horse has certainly got loose at times, and I've done things exactly the same way as always have done. I work in insurance, B, I'm a pony club instructor, so I'm pretty keen on doing things properly. Sometimes you're in a rush and you cut a corner. It does happen. We shouldn't do it.
or a crisp packet can appear and your horse can completely lose its mind, and you just think, what on earth is this?
Yeah, absolutely right. Those crisp packets are the worst.
Or even like we've got 2 horses and a dog, and the dog and the horse, one of the horses, get on really well. They chat to each other through the fence, have a lovely time. Other days, the horse is just terrified of the dog and just starts prancing around like some absolute idiot, and the dog's just looking confused. I don't know what's changed. The dog doesn't know what's changed, but Goo has decided that actually now the dog is like really exciting.
Yeah, I had a time once, I had a morning once I was turning my horse out and my dog came with me, and again, probably shouldn't do it, but my horse is 20-year-old colt, and he's absolutely safe with dogs running around between his legs, and he doesn't do a thing. Again, probably shouldn't do it, because one day that might have gone wrong. And actually on that day it did, and they were used to each other all the time. And the dog was always around the yard and with him, and we went riding and things together. And then one day I was leading him out to the field, and my dog turned to look at me, and it just caught it wrong, and he trod on her paw and split her paw open. And typically the morning I was about to go on holiday, and because that's when these things happen, isn't it?
100%.
The time only when you haven't got enough time. So there's an insurance claim for my dog insurance because I'd done something probably stupid. Should I have had the dog walking out with me to the field? No. But had I done it plenty of times and it been safe before? Yes. So
No, completely. I mean, I think obviously we're in cost of living crisis. I say that with a sigh because I feel like we've been going from crisis to crisis for the last, well, coming up to 4 years now. So there's always some kind of crisis. And that isn't a reflection on anyone that is in a cost of living crisis. But, we do seem to, at the moment, we go from one thing to another. And I think when people are really counting the pennies and the pounds, we're looking at how to cut costs, aren't we? We're always looking for how we can cut costs. Maybe we shop in a different place, or we go on a different kind of holiday, or don't go on a holiday. And insurance is one of those things that, for most of us, luckily, touch more wood, most of the time we don't need it at all. And therefore, it can be a really easy thing to go, actually, I can save myself a few £100s, a few £1,000s, whatever, cut that out. That's obviously great until something goes wrong, and then it's not so fun. But there are ways that we can look to reduce our insurance costs, aren't there?
yeah, absolutely. It's just managing it, isn't it? Insurance. I've always said this. That when we work in insurance, we're selling a product. We are selling people a product they hope they never use.
Mhm.
It's not a product like I bought a new dishwasher this week. Brilliant, really excited about it. Very happy to spend the money I spent on it. It arrived. I used it for the first time last night, and I was chuffed, which probably shows more about my age than anything else.
No,
But
I
it's
love it. Honestly, I'm with you. If the dishwasher breaks, I am a real miserable cow
yeah,
because I don't like washing up.
neither do I. And ours broke about 3 weeks ago. And to start with, I went, you know what? It's fine. There's only two of us. We can
Mm.
perfectly well wash up. And then I realised we've got 10 people for coming through Christmas.
Oh, God, no.
I panicked and bought a dishwasher because I can't face washing up for them. So I completely, but that's a very tangible product, isn't it? I
Mhm.
spent X amount of money, I've got my product. Whereas, when I'm selling you an insurance policy, A, you don't receive anything apart from a bit of paper saying here's your certificate. B, if you're using the product that you bought, then something's gone wrong. And that makes it much more complicated. So it's getting that balance between making sure you have the right level of cover for you, but obviously not wanting to spend. None of us want to spend more than we need to. And I think when it comes to particularly on the horse insurance side, and I think we've had this conversation before, haven't we? I think it really, what we have to do as a horse owner is step back and look at what it is that we're worried about happening, because for all of us as horse owners, it's different.
Mm.
And for me, I've got a few horses, and it's my concerns are different depending on that horse. So I've got an older horse who's 20, who I was given a few years ago. I'm not going to insure him for death because for me, he's 20 and the cost will be high and he owes me nothing, absolutely nothing. He's my horse of a lifetime. He's, I don't need to, but I do worry about him injuring himself. So I've got some vet fee cover. I've got the basic catastrophe vet fee covered for him because I'm worried about open wounds and things like that. Whereas if he has, if he has different injuries, then he's 20, so I'd probably retire him. Whereas my 6-year-old that I bought in the summer, I'm probably my worry about him is that he might injure himself and not have his career anymore. So, then I would consider, I might consider mortality, because if he dies, I want to be able to replace him. If I might even consider loss of use, because I've got a horse that I want to go and do X on, and if I'm not going to be able to do that on him, then I've put all this time and effort into him. He's no longer able to do that. I'm going to insure him for the vet's fees. A, because he's a thoroughbred and he's accident prone. B, more importantly, actually he's not that bad, but he did get injured in the stable the other day. And but also because I can't afford to do the work that I would want to do to him if he injured himself.
Yeah.
My grey mare I have on loan. So as part of my loan agreement with her owner, she has to be fully insured. So she is fully insured for everything. So I make different decisions. I've got a yearling out in the field now. We make a decision on that. What am I worried about happening to him? Probably less. So we look at what insurance he might have, and it would be very different to what I've got for my 10-year-old grey mare who I'm doing some eventing with.
Yeah.
So I think for people, when they're looking at particularly horse insurance, it's about thinking about what they're worried about, because there are things that we can do. Certainly at KBIS we have a wide number of veterinary fee options. So if it's the vet fees that you're worried about, then we can offer you up to £6,000 worth of claims, £6,000 per incident. Or you might say, well, actually, I can probably afford to pay a little bit of it myself. So, or we're not doing masses, so maybe you might just go for the £3,000. And we've also recently launched a new excess option, which is what we call a co-insurance, where if you purchase that and the horse gets injured, you pay a small excess, and then you pay a percentage of the vet fees as well, and that makes it a little bit more affordable. And so, from a vet fee point of view, there are plenty of options out there. From a mortality point of view, so that would be death, theft, and straying. Horse is killed, dies, or has to be put down. Then we can. Different insurance companies have different policies in respect of insurance, but certainly at KBIS we are happy to insure a horse for slightly less than its market value, which would save a little bit of that.
So I guess really, if people are thinking, oh, I'm going to scrap the insurance, would you say the first thing to do would be to phone and have a chat with the person you're insured with and kind of go through in real detail exactly what you are insured for and work out whether or not you need that, or whether or not you need it to be at the level it is?
Yeah, I think what you need to do is, before you make that call, have a really good think about what it is that you're worried about, because the whole purpose, as we said earlier, about insurance is to prevent you having to worry, so that if something bad happens or the worst happens, you know that you're safe and know that you can give the best possible care to your horse. They're part of the family, aren't they? So it's a bit different to a car. I know people love their cars, and some of them, they're part of the family too. But it's
Very different though. Bits of metal can sort of stay there, and it's sad if it breaks, but it's not.
You don't have the emotional attachment.
No.
And so you've got to, so I think the first thing to do is to step back and say, look, what am I worried about happening? How much of the risk am I in a position to take myself? And then give your insurance company a call and just say, look, this is what I've got at the moment. I've had to think about it. This is what I'm actually worried about. What are the options? How can I, and it might be that actually what you've got at the moment is the best possible thing, but it's not going to hurt to have that conversation.
No, and you could save yourself some really significant money if you're maybe happy to pay a higher excess or do the co-insurance, or actually you realise, as you've said, that the mortality aspect isn't really that big a deal for you because you've had the horse forever and it doesn't owe you anything.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of insurance, I would caveat that again with quite a lot of insurance policies, you can't purchase the vet fee cover without the mortality side. So you normally need to include a certain amount of mortality cover. There are a couple of products out there which are restricted vet fees. So we have a product which is the catastrophe product, which I have my hog, and that's kind of open wound colic surgery. But if you need an MRI or something like that for tendon scan, it's not going to be picked up. So there are options available, standalone vet fee options out there, but they will be a bit more limited.
No, that's fair enough. But as you say, if you can call your insurance company, explain to them what you need and work with them. I mean, there's another option as well, which is obviously shopping around for insurance. And I know obviously as KBIS, KBIS, people should definitely call you. But sometimes, do you think not all insurance policies are created equal, are they? You can't look at two and go, well, actually, I'm going to save £300, £400 on this one. It doesn't mean it's the same.
No, exactly. And that's the really important thing, to make sure that if you do look to move insurance companies, that you are confident that the cover you are taking out, the policy you're taking out, provides the cover that you need, and that they are like for like.
Mm,
And quite often, we'll have people who have quotes from competing companies, and we'll say, okay, well, send it in. We're very happy to do that bit of work for you know for the client, and just say, look, this is where they're different. People will move around, and of course we want people to stay with us, but it's really important that people have the right policy that they want and that's right for them. So, you know, I've certainly had situations where people have sent in competing quotes, and I've gone through it for them and said, okay, this is what we cover you get with us. This is what they're quoting for you. This is where the difference is. And people might then say, okay, well, that's brilliant. That's actually what I want. So really sorry, we're going to move away. Or they might say, oh gosh, I didn't realize that. Actually, I think I'll stick with what I've got. And, but yeah, I think it's important to be aware of where the differences are, because it's very easy to look at it and say, oh, well, that's £6,000 vet fees and that's £6,000 vet fees, but that one's
mm.
cheaper. But just double check why it's cheaper.
Yeah. And also maybe like the insurance company paying direct, or you having to pay, and then I know there's I'm pretty sure the dog vet, they will accept some insurance companies paying direct and others they won't. And again, I guess it depends on your own personal circumstances about whether or not that really matters to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't speak for other insurers. We certainly pay the vets direct, and we're very happy to do so. It
Mm.
makes it an easier process for the client, and for us at KBIS, customer service is absolutely key. It's what we set ourselves on. So we want to make the process as painless as possible.
Sure.
Um,
But I do think this applies to all kind of insurance across the board as well. Obviously, horses, because there's so many variables, but in everything really, you can change the limits on how much you're insured for. You can change the levels of excess. So whether it's a business or whether it's a horse, a dog, a house, it is doing the work rather than going, no, we'll save our money there. It's looking at it and seeing if you can save money, but still being covered correctly.
Absolutely. I think from a business point of view, it's a little less. There's a little less room for movement. It's really important that you have. Yes, you can save money by reducing your liability limit, for instance. So you can say, actually, I only want £1 million, or only want £2 million instead of £5 or £10 million. But that means that if you do have a claim that comes in at £3 million, which it does happen. We've seen claims coming in, at kind of well over £2 million.
Ooh.
If that claim does come in and it does go over £2 million, you are responsible for the rest of it. And so that it's risk that, again, about being aware of the risk and making sure that you're comfortable, that that's what will happen.
Sure.
You can what it's sensible to do is, with your business insurance, is again just to review it and make sure that the cover matches what you're doing now, compared to what your business may well have changed in the previous 12 months.
That's a really good point as well. A lot of businesses have had to pivot and adjust so much that it might be that your insurance was valid and perfectly relevant for you a few years ago, but now it could actually be not relevant and therefore it could save you money, or it could be not relevant and just not offer you the cover you need.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's really important to make sure that when you get your renewal documents through, you review them. If you're not sure, give your insurance company a call. Just say, look, this is what I'm doing. Now it's slightly different to what I was doing 12 months ago. It might be, from our side, it might be that you have less horses on the premises. So
Mhm.
that's then going to save you a bit of money potentially. Or it might be that you have less employees, or it might be that your turnover's changed, or actually you were a riding school but now you're a livery yard. And so there's various maneuverable parts of that policy in that respect. So it's just about making, on the commercial side, it's just really about making sure that you have the right policy for your business.
And I think as well, sometimes people think that like insurance is terrifying and scary and we don't really want to think about it. And almost like you don't want to speak to the insurance company in case, you say something you might be pulled up on or anything like this. But really, don't you think from a business and from a personal point of view, your insurance company should be like part of your team. They're there to work with you, not against you. And I know we hear stories about insurance companies not paying up and those sorts of things. But generally, when I've looked at those properly and read it, I can see exactly why. it's because they haven't disclosed something, or actually they weren't insured for that, or there's usually, she says, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but when I've seen people ranting on social media, you sort of read it and you're like, well, that's why. I can see that. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, we as a you know we do what we can to pay claims. We're not, if we can pay it, we'll pay it. We're not out there to, certainly with us, we're not out there to try and avoid paying any claims. That's
No.
what you bought the product for.
Yeah.
You need to be able to use it. But yes, I think claims are we are. I think it's a really great way to say it. Actually, the way you just said, we're part of the team and we want to help, and we have a team of people, and as do our competitors, not just us, and any insurance company. We have a team of people who understand it and know what they're talking about. Give them a call, have a chat with them. We want to. You see it, and I see it on the social media as well, and it's probably on the same pages as you have. You know, people saying, "Oh, don't disclose this, don't disclose that, don't tell them this," and actually, we're not the baddies. We want to help you, but we need all of the information to be able to help you, because 9 times out of 10, that information that you haven't disclosed will just come up later,
Yeah.
and we'll find out. And at that point, there's bigger challenges, because non-disclosure is a really, really big issue in insurance, and it means that potentially that claim might not get paid due to non-disclosure, or the policy can even be voided due to non-disclosure. So the repercussions of not disclosing information are actually way higher than if you just have a conversation with us and be and honest. We'll cover everything that we can.
Yeah.
You know,
It is about really seeing the people that you work with, like your insurance companies, like other external companies. They're not against you. You pay them to do a job, but you've got to do your bit of the job as well and be honest upfront and do everything that you can to make them do their job well.
yeah, I mean, we're here to protect you. That's the key purpose of what we do, is we are here to protect
Mm.
clients, and that's what the policy is there to do. That's we often see this again on the commercial side, where we expect businesses to have risk assessments and health and safety statements and things like that. It's not just insurance being difficult. It's those risk assessments are live documents, and they should be constantly being reviewed and updated, because that protects you in the event of a claim. If
Yeah.
somebody sues you, you need to be able to prove that you've done everything you can to prevent that happening. Unfortunately, saying that it's happened isn't enough. You need to be able to prove it, and that's the really key bit. I think staff training programs, risk assessments, health and safety. I can bore on about it all the time, and it sounds like me just being a boring insurance man saying, "Oh yes, we've got to have risk assessments," but actually, the key purpose for them is to protect the client more than anything else.
No, completely. I think that's been so useful. I've learned lots. I mean, I always do when I chat to you, and I do ask questions. And I know we started off a chat with me saying, well, insurance is a waste of time. And after we stopped laughing, then I think we actually really got into it and saying, well, it's not, but we can look to reduce the cost, which I think is what people are really interested in at the moment, how to save money, but not save money to the detriment of, you can cut costs and you can insure for less. But as you say, if that doesn't actually cover you, then it's kind of a waste of time insuring for less. So I think that's a really good point. But before I let you go, can you talk to us about some of the kind of highs along the KBIS journey? Because I know you work with loads of really cool riders, you work with events, you do loads of really fun things.
Yeah, it's been a great. I've had a great time. It's been really good fun. We get to go to events. I was at Blenheim with you this year, wasn't I? And
I mean, that's worth everything.
absolutely right. It's the only reason I took the job. And yeah, we work with some great people. We've had some great sponsored riders over the years. We work with some great teams. The British Grooms Association we've got a good affiliation with, and it's great to be supporting them and working with them in helping grooms. As an ex-groom, it's something I'm passionate about. It's great to be supporting the sponsored riders and working with them, and there are some great, with the sponsorship we do at various events. It is really fun. It's great to be giving back to the industry too. It's an industry that we're really passionate. All of us at KBIS are really passionate about. We have, I think, 39 staff and 39. There's 39 people in the team, and about 3 of them don't have horsey backgrounds. All of them have
Wow.
horses or have ridden horses, and so we're all really passionate about it. So to be able to give back to the sport that we love through sponsorship, through doing things like this, and through that is a real high. Yeah, and there's lots of great things I love about the job. We've got a really good team, who are really keen and passionate, and working with them, every day is a real perk as well.
Awesome. What can we expect to see in 2024 from KBIS? Is there anything exciting that you are allowed to tell us about? Because I appreciate, you can't tell us everything.
2024, gosh. Well, we've just in the last couple of weeks launched the new co-insurance product, which hopefully it was in an attempt to try and provide a product that hopefully will be affordable, but still provide the cover that people want. So that's gone live recently. We've also just launched a new quote and buy system, which went live a couple of months ago, and we'll be looking to move more of our products onto that quote and buy system to make the journey for people as slick and easy as possible. Not everybody has time to phone up during the day because we're at work. So if you want to, if people want to go online and buy in the evening, then we need to kind of facilitate that. We've got sponsored riders that we're working with, events that we sponsor, which we'll be talking about in the new year. Can't mention anything yet. What else have we got going on? We'll be looking at we're always looking at how we can improve our customer service. As I said to you before, we rate ourselves on, customer service is really key, but there's always room for improvement in everything you do. So we're constantly reviewing that next year. I think that's
Exciting stuff.
probably it.
Lots of stuff.
We've only just done our marketing budget, so there's not much I can share yet.
Ooh, no, that's okay. But where can we follow you online? And also, where can we keep an eye on all these things that are going on? So what's your website? What are your social media channels? Where can we find you and follow you?
Excellent. We've got a website, which is www.kbis.co.uk, and that we're keeping up to date all the time. If you can sign up to our newsletter. So we send out roughly monthly newsletters, and that's great because it's actually very little about insurance. So we've run competitions. We run competitions. We have useful articles. So articles on this month, I think, is about breakdown insurance. We've had one about worming, about rugging a horse during the winter, clipping. Various useful information there. The other thing, for people that do insure with us, we have a number of brand partners, so people get discounts at various outlets, which again we share in our newsletters. We're on Facebook. If you search KBIS British Equestrian Insurance, you'll find us there, and we're on Instagram. And I handle it.
That's good. No, we just need to go and find you. And I guess you've got all your social media links on your website anyway, haven't you, for the different places you are?
Absolutely right. Yeah. So you can find us there. But we had a new website last year, and I'm pretty impressed with that. I think it looks pretty smart. So go and have a look at it.
Brilliant.
If there are any questions, we've got a knowledgeable team of people who know what they're talking about and are really passionate about horses, but B, about helping our clients to get the best they can. So give us a call.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Lawrence, it's been lovely to talk to you as always, and I'm sure our paths will cross again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been great.